Hello everybody, Carolina Tony. Thank you for stopping by my channel. If you're here for the first time, be sure to go down here and click subscribe. After you subscribe, ring that bell so you'll be notified every time we put a video out, which is always on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, sometime in between. Today we are here in Elberton, Georgia to look at the Georgia Guidestones, and we'll do that right after this station identification. The story of the Georgia Guidestones began in 1979 when a stranger identified as Mr. Christian. Later they found out it was R.C. Christian. He visited a Joe Finley Sr., president of the Elberton Granite Finishing Company, and he indicated that he represented a group of people from outside of the state of Georgia, and that they were loyal Americans, and that they wanted to build a monument focused on the theme of conservation. Mr. Christian, who they assumed that because he was a Christian, that's why they called him Mr. Christian, he contacted a president of the Granite City Bank and told him to hold these funds in escrow. Well, they said that they wanted to remain anonymous, and when they built this thing, each of the four sides of the capstone features a statement of cautionary guidance to humankind, and is translated into Babylonian, Classic Greek, Sanskrit, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and it says, "Let these be guidestones to reason." And below they're carved into 8 faces of the 4 outer stones in English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindu, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, Russian, and English. See, there's a capstone right up here at the very top. There is a slot that's carved right, let's see if I get it with my finger, right there. And that channel that's cut through the stone indicates a celestial pole. The horizontal slot indicates annual travel of the sun, and the sunbeam through the capstone marks noontime throughout the year. Here's a slot that indicates celestial pole. You can look through there. Let's see if I find it. Yeah, a hole is buried. I can line it up. Ooh, there we go. There's the hole that's in the top that will indicate when it's noon. You see the shadow that's on the center stone and how it's smooth from there on down. Well, it's past noon today, but right there is where it's kind of smooth at. When that shadow was there, that would have told you that it was noon. And it does that every day through the whole year. So buried under this stone is a time capsule. Here's a stone that's buried in the earth. It kind of gives us some information about this, where it's written in English and Spanish, Swahili and Hindi, Arabic, Hebrew, Russian, and Chinese. And that's Arabic there. And here's where it's translated into other languages. So this thing's just nestled on a hillside, probably about 10 miles out from Elberton, in the middle of nowhere. Okay, here is a model of the Georgia Guidestones. Some articles from magazines and all that tells about them. Elberton, Georgia boasts the privilege of being known as the granite capital of the world, and 90% of all the granite that comes out of here are used for memorials and headstones. And this just shows how they are made, actually sandblasted, rather than the old way of actually chiseling out. This is where a rubber mat goes down on the granite, and then the parts of that they want to carve in are picked out. This is a surfacing machine that would be used to smooth out the surface on a slab of granite. Here are some hand tools that are used for doing the handwork on granite, and it's still used these today. There's a pneumatic chisel that would go in the end of a drill. In 1898, Elberton wanted to honor their Confederate dead, just as a lot of other towns spread all across the South. And they hired an immigrant from Holland to carve the statue. And of course, the immigrant had never even seen a Confederate soldier, so he didn't have an idea what a Confederate soldier would have looked like. So he carved which became to be known as Dutchy. And it stood on the town square for 2 years. Townspeople had a fit when they unveiled it. Some of the Confederate veterans that were still alive were so put off by it that they just couldn't stand to look at it. They actually covered it up for a time because it clearly looked like a Yankee soldier with bazooka eyeballs. One night they actually pushed it over and broke the legs, and they put a whiskey barrel nearby, and it's claiming that Dutchy the Yankee got drunk and fell off his pedestal. It not being enough for them just to push him over, they had to do away with him, period. So what they did is they dug a hole right in the middle of the town square and buried old Dutchy, and that's where he stayed. It's placed right on the top of this monument, and people in the town were just so disgusted by it, they pushed him over, and that's where he broke. And that not being enough, they buried him right there, and that's where he stayed for 82 years until he was dug up and cleaned off and put in a museum. And of course, as soon as they pushed him off and buried him, they replaced him with a proper Confederate monument. And poor old Dutchy stayed buried in the ground for 82 years. And then on April the 20th, 1982, he was resurrected and cleaned up and brought to this museum and put on display. 1900. The gentleman that owned the shed that Dutchy was carved in had this under the shed, and it is a sea lion. You see the lion's mane and face with a sea lion tail. And this is thought to be one of the first sculptures carved from the Elberton blue granite, and the oldest. This is one of a kind solid granite spire, 41,810 pounds. It's 51 foot tall, made from a solid piece of granite. To wrap it up for today, hope you've enjoyed our trip to Elberton, Georgia, to look at the Georgia Guidestones, the Granite Quarry Museum with Old Dutchy. And of course, Old Dutchy was exhumed from here and put into the museum and replaced with a real Confederate soldier. But anyway, enough of that story. For now, y'all have a good day.